Welcome. This is How to Paint a Boat in Holbein Watercolours. I'm Jude Scott and thanks for joining me. I always love to start with a small thumbnail sketch. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes and it's so helpful. It will help you see your large and small shapes. It will help you work out where your lights and darks are. It will help you with your composition and the placement of your focal point. I have divided my thumbnail sketch into 3 equal sections, top to bottom and from one side across to the other. And where those lines intersect is the best place to put your focal point. And that's where you put your lightest lights and your darkest darks. I'm using a 2B mechanical pencil. That works so well for me. You always have a lovely sharp point and it's really quick to put in your lights and darks. And there it is. So we've got the thumbnail sketch all finished. I have drawn my boat on the paper and I've also used some masking fluid which I've applied with my very sharp edged bamboo skewer or bamboo stick from the garden. I don't usually use masking fluid, but I have in this case because the only way really to preserve the whites in that boat is to put masking fluid on. So for the background, it's very, very dark. It's a forest of fir trees in northern Canada, and it was photographed by a friend who was sailing up a glacial river in Canada, northern Canada, heading to Alaska. So I've mixed up 2 different colours here, or actually 3 different greens. One green, the very first one I used, has got this one here. That has got neutral tint and it's got Quinacridone Gold in it. Very, very dark because these fir trees are a very cold, dark green. The second green that I've used on the right is Ultramarine Blue with some yellow ochre in it. And again, it's very strong and very thick. But because I've wet the paper, as I've gone up the page, putting in the trees, it's ballooning out beautifully. So you can see all those gorgeous colours. I've got yellow ochre mixed up in a puddle so that if I want to warm up one green, I just have to add some yellow ochre that's already pre-mixed. I find if I have to stop and mix up another puddle, sometimes you just lose your momentum. So when I do it like this, I think I have, for me, the best chance of success. Because it's very wet, I'm going to make that super dark because I know when it's dry, it's going to fade a lot because I've used a lot of water. You can see how wet the paper is by the shine on the paper. So if you don't want that much water or it's run too much up to the top of your page, you can hold it up and get it to run back down. This is the wet in wet method of painting and I just love it. You get some of the most beautiful effects painting wet in wet. You can always come back and restate your darks. Restate your darks just means you can go over them. Because your paint is still shiny wet, super wet, you can add pigment to that paper now. If you leave it until it's slightly damp, slightly wet, it won't work. You'll get cauliflowers. Your paper either has to be very wet to add more pigment or very dry. So now I'm just going to get my brush. It's loaded just with water and I'm splattering those trees with water just to get some sparkles of light coming through. Now I must apologise. I lost a whole clip here. So I painted the ocean or painted the river and I don't know where the clip went. I pressed the wrong button and whoops, it's gone. But we will go back into the water, so you will see the finished effect in just a moment. So I'm using here a special rubber to take off all the masking fluid. It's too much to take off just by rubbing it with your finger. You'll end up with almost friction burns on your finger. So I have used that special eraser. It works really well. So now that I've painted the water in, I'm just going to go back and put some colour in on the boat. So for my colours that I'm using now, I'm using Cad Yellow Orange Deep in Holbein, and I've mixed up some Quinacridone Red as well. And I've put both of those colours in the water because there's a big orange. I'm not sure what this section is on the boat, whether it's cargo or it looks like two big pizza ovens. I can't see in my image. It's not clear, but it doesn't matter. The great thing is it's a lovely contrast to all the blue water around and makes the reflections really sing. So here we're having just a little bit of purple, a bit of a shadow under the, I guess it's like an eaves that's overhanging. And I'm just using my rigger brush there. It has a beautiful point and I can do really fine lines with that. And I'm just looking at where the darks are. There's some doorways or windows there in the superstructure, I think you call it. And there's always some things on the deck that have little areas of darker shadows or doorways or windows. So this is what makes the boat look interesting. Now that the pigment has dried on the reflections, you can see that they've faded quite a lot. And I want to go back and just restate them. Restating is when you go back and just strengthen work that you've previously done with stronger pigment, just to make it brighter and reflect more the colours that are true to what the cargo is on the boat. So a little bit more Cad Yellow Orange and a little bit more Quinacridone Red where the reds were. Now I'm going to come along and just mix it up a little bit. You can make it as interesting as you like. The image that you can see above, you don't have to slavishly follow it. And I think it's always lovely to make a bit more of the image that you're looking at or the image that you're trying to produce. Hopefully your painting says more about everything than the original image, because you're the artist, so make it your own. and just soften that edge with a just damp brush. Now to finish off the water, this is pretty much how I did it for the first wash. Very strong pigment with loads of water. So that strong pigment will go up into the pigment that I dragged down from the shoreline, and there I'm putting just some water above that very intense pigment, and that will bloom up just enough to soften it. Plenty of water. Don't be frightened to use plenty of water to move that pigment across the paper. And while that's just settling down, I'm going to put some more darks in the immediate foreground. If it was a landscape, I always like to put warm tones across the bottom of my painting. So in this case it's water, so I'm going to put the warm ultramarine blue across the base of that painting, and it will draw your eye up into the boat area, and also it'll give a sense of perspective to the image that you're painting. Here I'm just going to extend those reflections, so if you can get a fairly firm bristled acrylic brush, a flat brush I find is the best for this, and then just, because it's still damp, drag that brush down through your paint, and you can lift off your pigments to look just like the white of the boat or the reflections.